Okay, Jeremy, so I'm going to ask you a few questions from
Okay.
my class.
Sure.
So, what do you do here at Murray State?
I am the manager of digital media services, which is under the branding, marketing, and communications office. So, our primary mission is to be the in house video production unit for the university. So, we handle the majority of internal and external video needs to include mostly things that would fall under branding and marketing, so promotional content and commercial content and things like that.
What made you want to work for digital media services, or how did you get involved in that?
Well, I'm a Murray State alum. I went to school here, studied radio TV, which is what it was called back in the day, and fell in love with video production. It's just something that is really something I've enjoyed ever since I really got into it. Had the opportunity to work in commercial television at a small station while I was in school, and then interestingly enough, that station was donated to Murray State in 1998. I came up here as a part-time, I was still a student at the time, and we operated a commercial station from 98 until 2002, and so I was the production manager during that time, and then the station went away. I actually got my master's degree. I became full-time faculty for about 9 years. And then as my former manager retired from this position, I moved over to this side. So I've been staff, faculty, staff. It's been a long, interesting road, sort of in the same job the whole time, but not really. So anyway, it just worked out, and I'm very fortunate.
When did you start teaching classes?
I started teaching when I was a graduate student. I did labs and things like that, and then I guess I was an adjunct for maybe a semester or so, and I became full-time faculty in July of 2013, I think. That's not right. I became full-time faculty in July of 2003. And started teaching full-time then.
What classes do you teach?
Right now I'm adjunct for the department since I'm not a faculty member, and so I teach audio-video post-production, which is JMC 369, and then I teach field production, which is JMC 451, and they basically alternate. So spring is 451 and fall is 369 so far.
What do you like about teaching students here?
I think the best thing about teaching, is just really working with the students. It's fun, and you get there's a benefit to both sides. You get to get the young person's perspective in a lot of things. You get to see what they're interested in and try to keep up with that, and see how viewing habits change and what interests change. And so it's a great thing to just kind of stay tied in to the students, and there's also that mutual benefit of when you're teaching, you're also being taught, and it really is just a fun thing to keep participating in.
What are some things your students have taught you?
Well, over the years, I've had really great relationships with a number of students, and you just most of the time it's just about better ways to teach, better ways to communicate with other students. How you're learning, how you're not learning, things like that. But through the years, and it's a little different now as I get older. I'm a little bit more separated from my students. But I started teaching when I was 20, probably mid-20s, and so I was really pretty much kind of the same age, even though they probably didn't think I was. I've always looked old, but as time has progressed, it's become a different relationship, but I look back and I've really got some really true friends that were students, and that we keep in touch. And the great thing about those connections is, they go out and they do great things, and there's a little bit of that connection that goes with them, and now I've got people who are doing things with bigger budgets and bigger equipment, and I get to pick their brains now, like, what are you doing? And so that's a really cool thing.
What's something cool you get to do on campus with video?
Well, we have our hands in a little bit of everything on campus video, and so there's great stories to be told. Sometimes we really come up with some that are just really compelling Murray State stories. Just going back to spring break, there was a student who was spending her spring break with her family building what will eventually be a bee farm on Pullen Farm. And we just happened to find out about it through a Facebook post. And, here you had a student who was giving her spring break up for educational purposes, who had her family contribute all the materials, and her dad and uncle and brother were here. And what a cool story that is. And so that was a fun one. But then also big events and traditions. I mean, All Campus Sing, as difficult of a day in production as it is, and it is for us, it's such a great tradition, and we've done it for a long time. It's pretty cool to say that, you've done, you handle the video stream for the biggest event that we have. And so there's just all kinds of things like that, from interesting stories to just, talking about how great Murray State is, and that's a lot of fun.
Do you have a favorite event that you do each year?
All Campus Sing is definitely the favorite event. It's just such a big thing, and I mean, I think this is the 59th year, and it really gets a big reaction from alumni. We'll have, probably a couple of thousand views live, which is pretty cool, and we'll have alumni tell us, hey, I'm staying up all night in Australia to watch All Campus Sing, and because people just love it. I mean, they connect with it, they remember when they did it, and because of the technology now, anybody in the world can watch it, and so that one's a lot of fun, and it definitely has to be a top as far as events go.
Are there difficulties when filming it, or trials you have to overcome?
Oh yeah, sure. All Campus Sing is a big production. I mean, it's I'll start 7:30 in the morning on that day, start laying things out. I mean, the part of the challenge is with the student crew. You all are dedicated to classes that aren't mine. So it's not like I can say like, okay, we're starting at 7 in the morning and going all day. So me and my professional staff will spend some time getting things started, and then students will come in throughout the day, and the other challenge there, I mean, and it just takes a long time to set everything up and test it, and the probably it's a challenge, but it's a good thing. There'll be a lot of people out there, and so by 7:30 people are camping out and they're putting blankets out, and we've got to go out and try to work around that and try not to be in the way, but yet get the production done. And then with the student staff, I mean, it can be challenging. I mean, it's 3 to 4 hours of full production. Once you go, and sometimes it's hot, sometimes it rains. It's having somewhat inexperienced production members that you have to guide and you have to deal with just whatever happens. And so it is a challenging event, but it's also a lot of fun.
So I know it's rained several years. Like, how do you overcome that with the cameras and the equipment?
What they tried to do, and really we've been very fortunate with All Campus Sing for probably the past 10 years more or less, is we haven't been rained out really. And there is a contingency if there is rain and significant rain, we move it inside Lovett. And I really only remember about one time in the past decade where it's been like, okay, we're in Lovett. It's still a good event, but it's not nearly as good of an event as when it's outside on Lovett steps. Everybody's outside, the weather's great, Then I guess 2 years ago it rained hard, kind of in the middle of the day, and that one was very interesting because I mean we had set up, it was we think it's going to be fine. It was fine, and all of a sudden a storm rolls in out of nowhere, more or less, for about 20 minutes of hard rain. And so we really just I'm telling my students, grab a camera, grab anything, cover it up, get inside, And so we rushed inside, and we ended up waiting it out, So it was about a 30-minute delay, and then they had to actually wait for us because I was like, you got to give TV time to set up. So we had to go back out, put everything in. It didn't rain after that, So that one was a really, really hectic day. And basically, once we commit, I mean, if we've committed to outside, we can't very easily move inside. It's just not feasible with all the cabling and everything that goes into it. So we'll see what happens. We always look at the forecast out and we just cross our fingers. And we've been really, really fortunate for a long time. If it rains, we'll move it and love it. We'll have a good time.
What was your favorite All Campus Sing that you've shot? Do you have like a favorite year?
Oh, I don't know if I have a favorite year. I mean, obviously it's similar depending on the year. There's been some really great performances. I'm a SIGEP alum, and so SIGEPs have won it a whole lot for the past, I don't know, decade or so. And so I've always kind of like, come on, SIGEPs, and I'm texting my alum brothers, and we're all kind of into that, and we wish them well. So when they win, it's a good day. But there's a lot of great performances. I mean, it's so fun and so creative, and you'll have people messaging and tweeting about it, and sometimes we get tweets at the production if we're showing some things and people like it or don't like it, and so it's all fun.
What do you hope that your students who do film on campusing like take away from it, or just take away from your classes in general?
Well, I hope students leave my classes with a really good foundation in video production. I mean, there are things that you will not maintain until you really do it every day. I mean, they just won't happen because you'll lose things, as you know. You take a class, you learn a bunch of stuff, and then you have summer break, and you kind of wash it out and start all over again to an extent. And so you don't really learn. It doesn't become automatic until you're doing it as a career mostly, or as maybe a student worker or lab environment thing. But you really have to just do it. A lot of the things that students will accidentally mess up, whether it's sound or white balance or that, those things are just automatic for a professional. I mean, there are sometimes problems and equipment issues, but you don't ever have a pro come back and they haven't white balanced or So I hope my students leave with a real solid foundation, an understanding of the basics, and a curiosity about equipment, and a passion for it. If you're going to do this, you better love it. It is not an easy field a lot of times. It's a commitment of hours, and we don't typically get rich doing this, so you have to really enjoy doing it. But if you do, people say if you love what you do, you don't really have to work, and I don't know that I would go that far, but there are a whole lot of days where this is something that you just enjoy doing, and that really makes going to work a lot easier. Darn it.